Thanks very much, Michelle. So many Asian people across the globe have been targets of racial discrimination and hostility over the coronavirus. Anti-Asian racism is spurring many South Africans to take action on social media, though, and the hashtag unapologetically Asian has gained a lot of traction. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, let's take a look at this.
Now we call it reality virtue. This is who I am. This is me. Don't let the words hurt you. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flag, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
Alright, so the producers of the video you've just watched say that it's not meant to be a political statement, but rather to simply showcase South Africa's Asian heritage and contribution to society. For more on this now, I'm joined by the producer of the campaign, Warren Ho. He's also a self-defense teacher. Warren, thanks very much for your time and welcome to the AM Report. The COVID-19 pandemic certainly has exposed the best and the worst in us, hasn't it? But take us through, as a start, some of the experiences you've heard about South African Asian people who've been at really targets of discrimination and hate over the past few months since the outbreak began.
Firstly, good morning, Ayanda. Thank you very much for having me on the show. So, firstly, nothing's happened to me, but I have heard of many cases of our fellow Asian people being discriminated against. Most of the stuff had happened right at the start of the lockdown, where there was a lot of misinformation and a lot of the unknowns. One of them being that the virus came from China. So a lot of people were sort of calling it the China virus and discriminating us against that, regardless of whether we were born in China or whether we were born in South Africa. I myself am a second generation Chinese, so being born in South Africa, I found that quite hurtful, people just accusing Chinese people in general of bringing the virus to the country or whatever it is. There have also been many cases of online abuse, people accusing us of eating anything and everything that moves, as well as trying to sort of raid Africa and take over Africa. So a lot of comments like that are very hurtful. Recently they've also been, well, not recently, but at the start there were cases of shop owners, Chinese shop owners being looted and raided because, again, of just being Chinese and being accused of the virus. So there have been things that have happened within our community, and not just Chinese in general, all Asians as a whole have been targeted.
Right, and I guess that's what spurred the project that we've just seen, which is that video, hashtag unapologetically Asian. I mean, give us an idea around the thinking behind this. You say it's not a political statement. How else then would you motivate putting something like this together?
Absolutely. So firstly, that hashtag isn't ours. I actually found, or there was a video that was circulating on social media done by a group of American and Canadian actors and stuntmen. And it was specifically a lady called Olivia Chen. She was the lead actors in a sort of a locally filmed series called Warriors. And she had started the whole movement to do something about sort of this racial bias. So they started the movement basically in America/Canada and produced their first video. Thereafter, the Canadians picked it up and they produced a video of their own. And I thought it would be nice that us as South Africans also could do something that would sort of reflect our Asian and South African culture. Hence, there's both the unapologetically Asian and proudly South African hashtag in ours. We'd like to feel that we are part of the South African community, want to help, we want to be a part of it, and definitely not segregate ourselves. So, as much as I say it's a non-political statement, I'm making a statement that we want to be part and help the society as a whole. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we are Asian, and we are unapologetically Asian, but we will try and be our South African healthiness as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, the World Health Organization has long called for things like solidarity during this time, more than anything else. And I imagine, of course, this sort of adds more weight to those calls. I do wonder, speaking about the World Health Organization, whether you think our leaders have done enough to ensure that, these kind of things don't go unchecked and are in fact, I guess, spoken against the moment they start to emerge. I mean, what are some of your thoughts around the ways through which our leadership has responded to some of these claims?
Well, that's quite a question in terms of our leadership. Well, I think it can always be done. There can always be done more for the minority groups, especially the Asian community. So sometimes I feel that we don't have enough of a voice, and that's obviously my personal opinion. I'm not sure what's happening in the backgrounds, but as a minority group, there is a lot more that can be done. I think South Africa as a whole, there is a lot of issues that sort of compound the problem. But yeah, as long as there is some commitment for something to be done, I think the leadership would go a long way in helping all the minority groups.
Something else that might go a long way is, of course, trying to make sure that people are as educated as they can about not only this virus, but ways through which it spreads and where it emerges. In some respects, some South Africans might feel that they might be able to play a hand in helping that take place. In what ways could ordinary South Africans from all backgrounds try and assist, at least in spreading the message about COVID-19 and where it in fact comes from, not that we even know quite clearly as yet?
Well, I think education is key.
Yeah.
I think a big thing about about the fear is just not knowing, is the fear of unknown, and sort of the panic that comes with not knowing what's out there. So the best thing we can do is just be educated, not only about the virus, but maybe about Asian culture. Not all people, not all Asians eat bats or all these funny foods. But the idea is educate yourself and let go of some of those biases. Be prepared to be open-minded and learn some new things. You never know, you might learn a thing or two. I think that goes for all of us South Africans to be more tolerant. We are the Rainbow Nation, and we're quite a diverse group of people. So let's learn about each other, continue learning about each other, and accept each other for what we are.
Absolutely, can't stress that anymore. Thank you very much for your time. Certainly appreciate you coming on to share your experience. Warren Ho is a producer of Unapologetically Asian. It's a video that you might have seen making the rounds as part of a campaign, really, with many Asian people pushing back against the anti-Asian sentiment that's emerged since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Certainly an important message, especially here in South Africa, as of course there are still months ahead before we see the pandemic past us.